Okay, so what happened is, it was about a year before COVID, and I was driving home and I decided, you know what? I think I want to finish the show, end it. And so I came home and I sort of surprised Sandy and Darren, and I said, I think we should wind the show down. Like we'll shoot it this year, next year, and then wind it down at the end of 2021. And this before COVID hit, of course. And a lot of people think, oh, I wound it down more because of travel restrictions and all that. But that had nothing to do with it. I'd already made my mind up, about a year before it all hit, the pandemic. And it was a bit of a shock. I mean, they were shocked. I think Wayne was shocked. But I just thought the timing was right. I didn't have anything to prove or any milestones I wanted to make or hit. I just felt like, okay, I've been in the business for, pushing 41, 42 years, 30, it'll be 38 years of TV. Once I wind down the series. Not a bad run. And there was a lot of reasons I wanted to do it. I wanted to pursue tournaments
Yeah.
a little more in depth. I've always fished about 15, 12 to 18 a year. I'd like to increase that to 15 to 20 a year now that I've got time, because I still have that competitive sort of desire to compete in bass tournaments. And I don't know, I thought the timing was right. So what I did is we aired the series last year for the final year, but I also approached 9 companies that I wanted to keep working with, and like Mercury Marine. I've been with Mercury Outboards for like my entire career for over 4 decades. Ranger Boats, Columbia Sportswear, Berkeley, Abu Garcia, all these companies that I wanted to stay with, and nobody said no to me. They're still working with me, and that was a big relief because I didn't know what they would say. I mean, I'm shifting gears. It's a different business model. All of a sudden, I'm doing promotional work and like I started doing, in the early '80s before the TV show, in tournaments, and now add some social media, which wasn't around back in those early formative years. So it was a big change and a big shift in my direction, but everybody said yes, and it's been a phenomenal year. I mean, here we're coming into the winter months, and I'm working with a bunch of companies that I just love working with. They're great people and products I really do believe in using and like using for my tournament fishing and fishing in general. So it's been a different shifting gears for me, I'll tell you. It's like um, it's kind of like going on wide open down the Autobahn to all of a sudden just cruise control on and feeling really good and safe. So I don't know.
Are you home more?
A little bit more,
A little more.
more than I've been in the last 4 decades for sure. But I still get antsy, when I'm home for like 5 days or something, or 3 days. I feel like I need to be going somewhere and that. So I still got that bug. But yeah, I was gone a lot during the tournament season. I just got back from South Carolina. We fished in the Black Bass World Championship,
Hmm.
um, which was in South Carolina at Lake Murray outside of Columbia, and that was 25 countries from around the world competed in that. And I was captain of Team Canada, and we took 4 two-person teams down and competed against teams from all over the place. I mean, Laos and
Pardon
you
me.
know, all over Brazil and Mexico and stuff. And it was pretty cool. We ended up winning a silver in the Americas division, Team Canada, silver medal. But we in the worlds we got 9th out of 25 countries. We slipped a bit there, but it was an experience that'll last a lifetime. The memories that we made, and that was awesome. That was just when was that? The end of October. I was down there, so that was a
So
lot of
how does
fun.
something like that work? Every country or several countries submit a bunch of teams or one team or
Well, they qualify. So every country has teams that qualify to fish this. And there's Pan American tournaments that lead up to this, for North and South America. And the whole game behind this is a few different organizations out of Italy and Europe are trying to make fishing an Olympic sport. So in the
hmm.
1900, I think it was around 1908 or something like that, fishing was an unofficial Olympic sport at the Paris Games. And that was the last time it was part of the Olympics. And they're trying to resurrect that and make it an official sport. Kayak fishing, bass fishing, predator fishing, carp, saltwater. So they want a bunch of different divisions. And, will it happen? I don't know. The jury's out. They're trying hard. They're getting countries from all corners of the world to participate in these various events that they have in Portugal and Mexico and the US and Canada. We had the Pan American in 2019 that Team Canada won over Team USA by 0.01 of a pound, which is just nothing. That's a drop of water. And but we did take home the gold there. And then Team Canada won again in the Pan American competition in Mexico around 2020, I believe it was. They won. So Team Canada's got a pretty strong group of anglers, and there's a whole new group that'll be going to the next one in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and then to the World Championship. The next one's in Portugal in, I think, a year or two. So yeah, there's some pretty cool things happening. So that's just another thing I've been involved in amongst many. And I don't know. It's always one thing about what I've done, Ken, for my entire career is you never know what's around the corner. I mean, I've been asked to speak at Parliament Hill for a couple outdoor caucus meetings with members of Parliament and senators from across the country, which is so bizarre because I'm about as non-political as they get. But I've been asked to go speak there. With a nonpartisan group of or a nonpartisan meeting of all the different parties coming together to promote fishing and hunting. And I'm talking about the importance of it to their constituents in their ridings and how much money is spent on it annually in Canada. And it's just kind of cool. Done things like that. And, just been exposed to a lot of weird things. I'll tell you, for a country kid from a little hick town called Blenheim, boy, I'll tell you, it's been
That's right. You're from Blenheim, Ontario, right?
Yeah, Blenheim, Ontario. Don't blink. Right. You'll miss it. 3,600 people. And I don't believe it's grown much since then. Maybe it's 4,000 now. I'm not sure.
Wow. That's small town living. Good Lord. What's the weirdest thing you ever pulled out of the water?
Weirdest thing. Well, I mean, one time I was in a bass tournament on the Mississippi River over in Wisconsin, and I'm using a crankbait on these wing dams, which are, underwater rock piles to slow down the current, doesn't let the banks erode away. And I'm cranking a crankbait, and I said to my co-angler, you draw a different partner every day in those pro tournaments. Say, boy, I got something on. It's not fighting much, and I'm fighting and fighting. And then I get the boat, and it is the biggest bra you've ever seen. And it was like a parachute under the water. I had that thing hooked by the strap, and it gave me a heck of a fight in the current of the Mississippi because it sort of swam both ways. If I would lead my rod this way, it kind of went the other way. And the time I got it in, I'm thinking it can't be a bass. It's not shaking its head or jumping. And I got this big bra, and I don't know who was in it, but very large, very large.
There you go.
And then one time we were shooting a walleye show down in Picton in Ontario, there in Prince Edward County, and I remember we're trolling for walleyes with the electric motor, and that night I did get my personal biggest. It was 14 pounds and change. But at one point I hooked something. And walleyes don't fight that hard. At night they fight pretty hard. During the day they kind of come in like a boot. They shake their head a little bit, but they don't pull like a muskie or a pike or a big bass and make fast runs or jump or anything. I'm pulling it and reel, and it's a shopping bag. And it's once again, it's like a sea anchor under the boat, coming in, capturing all the water and that. But I've hooked some weird things, but I haven't hooked a body yet. Knock on wood, nothing like that. But yeah, it's I remember some of the tournaments we fished, like it was over in a second, but I'm fighting a massive giant sturgeon, and I lost it. It jumped on camera right beside the boat, jumped about 8 feet, out of the water. The head of it comes out, and the tail's just barely in the water, comes out. And the bait and the hook goes one way, it goes the other way. And that one, I think it's like $45,000 it would have won for us.
Oh,
yeah.
and you
We'd
got it on
already
tape.
figured out how we were splitting the money at the first, if we caught the winning fish in this world sturgeon tournament, how we were going to split the money and that. And then we've won tournaments before too, where in the last 5 minutes of fishing, catch a fairly big fish, put it in the live well, throw a smaller one back, and so I'll catch and release, throw alive in the live well, and end up coming in winning a bass boat type of thing, and like exciting moments like that have happened, and that's kind of why I like the adrenaline rush of tournament fishing. You always have a lot of those. You have a lot of lows too when you do crappy in one, and it's a long drive home, but when you do well in one, it's like you won a lottery type thing. So that's what I like about the tournament fishing. And I mean, this company, Mercury Marine, I used to have a full head of hair as you did, and that's what Mercury Marine did to me. I think it helped rip the hair right off my head. They're so fast, but I like that adrenaline rush of running down the lake, 60 mile an hour. It's fun.
I've been in a boat with you. It's terrifying.
Yeah. I remember on Lake Ontario, we were bass fishing, and I think we caught one big pike too. You caught a big pike over on Lake Ontario on the New York side.
Yeah,
that was that time I got the speeding ticket on shore.
That's right.
we were off.
I was going to say to the cop, "You think he's going fast here? You should have seen him when he had the boat in the water."
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny. Speaking of this area, there was a fan of the show, Joe and Heather, dropped by yesterday to say hello, and they own the marina in Wapoose. You were there a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, he owns it?
If it's the guy that you were talking to, yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, him and his wife run the marina down there.
Oh, gee, yeah, that's a special part of the world. When you see him, you tell him that that is one of my favorite places in the world down there, because
it is gorgeous.
It's so quaint. You've been there to Wapoose?
I'm not sure. I can't remember if we launched out of Wapoose one time. I know we did the Thousand Islands a few times, but I think we did Wapoose once.
We might have. Yeah, it's a neat place because it's really the only place to get fuel or anything between there and Kingston, and then going west. I think Wellington maybe, or something like East Lake, West Lake, you might be able to get fuel, but it's kind of off in the middle of it's not in the middle of nowhere, because that whole Prince Edward County now is sort of like the next Muskoka, right?
Yeah.
There's so many breweries and wineries. And hey, what's the name of this brewery that sponsors your show?
The one that we're sponsored by Longtooth. Longtooth. They're a Campbellford guy. He's got the shop down in Brighton, Ontario, and he's been an old friend of mine. I've been drinking his beer forever, and it just seemed to make sense when we got the show going that he came on as the beer guy.
Oh, good. I was hoping that it was named after you and I. So.
Yes, well, we are getting a little long in the tooth.
Getting long in the tooth, but we're not that long yet.
Exactly. I know. I'm looking more long in the tooth than ever. I decided that razor blades were too expensive, so I stopped cutting hair.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'd say you got another 6 inches to go. You'll be equivalent to some of the ZZ Top crew there.
That's what I'm thinking. I was thinking when the bass player Dusty died a few years ago, I thought I better start. But then they got this new replacement who is awesome. So that position is gone, and he's. Is
that right? So I was surprised. I mean, we did lose a few really good ones in the last bunch of years, haven't we?
In
music. Yeah,
rock and roll guys are getting older now, though.
Yeah, you're right.
And rock and roll is only 100 years old.
A lot of those guys were old when we were young.
Yeah.
But now that we're older, they're older too, right?
Exactly.
You know how it was put years ago. Somebody said to me, Ted Takasaki is a walleye pro. He said, he said, the older you get, each day is a smaller increment of how many days you've been here. And that's why everything seems to go by faster, he says, because you've been around for so many days now versus when you're younger. You can't wait for time to go by when you're young, when you're in high school or whatever, you're looking out the window going, I wish this class would end, till as you get, older, you go, where'd the day go? It just, the weeks go and the months go and the years go, they go by so fast. And it's just a smaller increment, I guess, of how long we've been around or something. It made sense to me anyway.
That's an interesting way of thinking. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, the weight of the days behind us are bigger than the days in front of us, and
Yeah. I
that's
don't
an
like to
interesting
think
push.
that, but a friend of mine reminded me about that, Ken, the other day. He says, yes, our our peak is over. And I'm like, whoa. And then I started to do the math and go, yeah, I don't think I'll live to be 128 or whatever.
Yeah. Well, how old are you now? You're
64.
64.
64, yeah.
Man, you've spent a lifetime
Yeah.
doing
It's
what you love. You
yeah.
are so blessed.
I started like fishing full time when I was like 21 and became what they called, and they use this term loosely, Canada's first full-time fishing professional. And but I take the word professional and call fishing bum. But yeah, it was hell of a journey. And you know what? That's the other reason too. When I thought, let's wind the show down, and that is, I still feel really good. And I've got friends that are my age that, they seem to move slow and they're just not agile. And that I feel pretty good. I could shed 25 pounds or so and feel probably a lot better. And I'm going to work on that this winter, hopefully. But I have to compete with these young folks that are fishing tournaments, because the young guys,
Yeah.
they're out there, sun up to sundown every day, pre-fishing and that, and I've got to compete to be like I used to be and that. So, but you know what? I feel great, and that's another reason I wanted to do it. I didn't want to do it so that, like I've got friends in the States, Bill Dance, Roland Martin, Jimmy Houston. These guys are TV fishing show hosts.
Mhm.
Who have done TV shows for 40 some odd years. Bill Dance, he might be pushing, I don't know, maybe pushing 48 or 49 years of TV. I
Really?
don't know, but they're still doing it in their 80s. These guys, they're hosting their show. And I think that's wonderful, but it wasn't something I aspired to do. I
Yeah.
didn't do the show for notoriety. I did it to support my tournament fishing addiction back in the early 80s. I needed to figure out a way of making a little more income so I could keep fishing tournaments and not have to sleep in the back of my car at ones I didn't win any money at.
Wow.
That really sucks, sleeping in the back of your car, when you fish till dark and
Mm.
you eat a sandwich and roll up in your vehicle and you call it a night. You get up in the morning, you jump back in the boat. That's not fun.
I
So
have done that for a lot of my life. Yeah, and that's what you do. But that's the price. That's the price that we pay to do what we love. People with money who want the experience can never truly get the lifestyle. The lifestyle comes from, like you say, the willingness to sleep in your car in order to make it happen. And when that turns into it's actually happening, man, what an amazing accomplishment.
But you know what, though, with what you've done, the better part of your life, and what I've done, even though we're completely different worlds, music and fishing, is we're paying our dues, but we don't know we're paying our dues,
Yeah.
right? You don't even think about it. You're not thinking about some pot of gold at the end of the rainbow or that. You're just doing it because it's what you feel you're meant to do. And I don't know, it's kind of weird to put it into words, but you're going through the motions, and it never ever appears like, even though there's times you're stressed out, and believe me, I know that, I've known you for, the better part of 2 decades now. And there's times I'm sure you're stressed out over, trying to get this right or this chord right and the wording right when you're doing a song and that.
Hmm.
But the fact is, it's what you do,
Yeah,
right? And you work
exactly.
through it. And so you don't ever think of that word work. Like I say, you work through it, you get through it, but you don't think of it as working through it, right?
Yeah.
It's
No,
just
I mean,
something
it's
you're doing.
it's when I used to say the hardest, like what we get paid for as musicians is the travel and the dead time when you're not on stage. Nobody's paying me to be on stage. I'm loving that. That's purely my enjoyment. You got to pay me to, the other 22 hours of the day to help me fill that to get to the next show. That's where the money comes in. It's when you're doing something you love, man. Yeah, it's never money. It's never work. I mean, and it hasn't been. There's been times it felt like work for me, and at that point, I made changes. And and that's what you were saying earlier. You've had this show for 38 years, and you really want to get back to some tournament fishing. And I mean, wow, that's amazing that it's still there, and that thank God it's an industry that the digital world can't take over.
Yeah, I see, when I'd come and see you guys play, the few times I got a chance to come and see and then come backstage, for me, that was such out of my element. It was so neat to do and see, because I'm seeing the life of what you guys would do, and I know it's so different than what I did, but I also know the commitment, the hard work to get to that level of what you were doing. And I always got a thrill out of it, and that's one thing I've been very lucky to see, is all these different walks of life of people that do something at a fairly high level. And it's so hard to achieve. Like some chefs I know, this one chef is a Michelin chef, incredible, that I got to meet. And he actually won a trip to fish with me through Columbia Sportswear, him and
Wow.
he brought his two sons, and we got to be friends. And he's the head chef at Blue Bloods now at the Casa Loma there.
Oh my
Big
God.
house. But I've been at other restaurants, and when he worked in England, he'd hang around with that Chef Ramsay, and drink beers after, stuff like that. And to see him in his element, working and doing what he has done his whole life, and see the food that he can prepare and stuff, and it truly is an art for him, and you can
Absolutely.
make food that is incredible. As you know, and I know you like it too, we love our food,
I
right?
love food. I
Yeah.
know you love
And
food.
yeah, and it's just it's neat to see people that are truly good at what they do. And it doesn't matter, like I've always said this for my entire career, that my friends are all walks of life, that
Yeah,
from every level of income to job to anything. It's just that, if they're good people and we get along, that's how it is. It's not,
I agree.
some of them don't even fish, some of my friends in that, and then others are fanatical like I am, but it's all walks of life. But I have noticed that, the game I chose, which was fishing, does attract a lot of like-minded people, even though they're from all walks of life. You got, from guys that work in the trenches to very wealthy people seem to take up the sport of fishing, and at all levels too. I mean, some people, just like to throw a line off the bank and fish in the simplest form, and others buy fancy boats and spend way too much on equipment, but that's what they get their thrill out of. And
Well, exactly.
it's a very interesting, diverse sport, that's for sure, if you want to call it a sport. And it's crazy how it's taken off. COVID actually increased the
Yes.
amount of anglers substantially around the world.
Yeah. Did
Yeah,
the
the
same thing for
licensed boats in North
musicians.
America have
All the
gone
music
through
stores
the roof.
got bought up.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
couldn't buy things. You couldn't find boats and
Yeah.
motors and rods and reels and lures, and the manufacturers couldn't keep up. And they're still playing catch up right now. They're
Yeah.
not caught up. And I'm just getting some of my stuff in. I ordered last spring. It's coming in right now, and just the way it is. But that was a good shot in the arm for the business, because a lot of businesses, talking about like the chef there, a lot of the restaurants took a hit,
Yeah.
during the first year, especially first year and a
Yeah.
half or so. But I mean, a lot of your performances and gigs were not happening, right?
Everything disappeared. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a weird time. And I just hope, we've seen the worst of it. Everybody talks about more strains coming. I don't know.
I I choose ignorance.
Yeah.
I choose ignorance. I mean, when I do hear facts and doctors, that I know tell me stuff, I follow that. All of the speculation and I can't. I don't have the mental fortitude to deal with the
No,
bias.
no, and you know what? That's a good way to be, because there's so many opinions. It's like politics.
Yeah.
COVID is probably as closest thing that ever came to, just like, religion and politics and things,
Yep.
everybody has their beliefs, and Yeah, there's an old saying. I remember my original partner in the TV show said back in '83 when we started, he used to say, "Win every argument, lose every sale." And he had his own agency, Bob McGuigan in Guelph, called Memory Bank, and so he did, corny commercials for car dealers where the guys jog, and he was the original guy that did some of that crazy stuff with car dealers and that,
Yeah,
some local dealers and that. And but yeah, win every argument, lose every sale. And it's true. You get
that's
into
incredible.
an argument with somebody about anything, if you win, they're
Yeah.
not buying, right?
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Bob. Thanks for spending so much time hanging out with us. We got about 3 minutes left on the counter. So, what's happening with Bob IZUMI right now? How can people follow you? I know that you're on all the social media. Like, what's the main link for Bob IZUMI?
Well, on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook, I'm trying to get more involved and more engaged in them. But I find that when I'm fishing, I kind of drift away from it a bit, and then I get
Absolutely.
back. And now that it's colder and getting colder, I'm going to be on the social media a little more concentrated effort. I can always be reached through social media if anybody has any questions or that. If you got anything bad to say, my brother Wayne's on social media. You can find him and give him any complaints. But I just want to say though, Ken, it's been so wonderful catching up with you. And
Oh,
please give Allison a big hug. Say hi
I
to the
will.
girls for me.
I will.
It's been way too long.
Yeah.
We got to have a an in-person meeting.
The next time you and Sandy are on this side of Toronto, because you guys are on the other side. The next time you guys are on this side of Toronto, man, drop me a line and come on up. We'll have some dinner. I'll make sure there's some good food here, and I'd love to see you guys in person.
Yeah, I love the fact that our friendship is such a unique one because we come from so different worlds of what we do. That's what I like about it.
Hey, Bob, I've met thousands of people over the years, and I have a collection of friends picked very closely cherry picked out of those thousands of people, and it's just because it's some people you just get along with, right?
Yeah, we had a lot of laughs over the years too,
Oh yeah,
and I know we haven't spent a lot of time together in the last few, but I mean, hey, that doesn't mean anything in your world or my world because
no,
we're always going to be friends, and you know that. So,
exactly.
right.
Well, I love to you and the family, Bob. Thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. If anybody's got any questions for Bob, you can send them through me, and I'll make sure to get it to him. Man, after such a successful career, Bob, and now you're getting to the next part of your career where it's going to be all stuff that you really enjoy. That's so inspiring, man. That's incredible.
I'm excited because it'll give me more time to just to maybe smell those roses that I
Yeah,
was blurred by, over the years. And
exactly.
I'm excited. I mean, I literally had one of the neatest years of my life this year, just because I could actually take a lot of it in and realize how damn lucky I've been
Yeah.
because I don't think I realized it many years because it was just go go go. Now I'm looking at things a little different, and I'll tell you, you take a couple of deep breaths outside out in a boat, and you sort of look around and you go, hey, this is a pretty good little life, and it's been a great one, and hopefully there'll be a few more days left to just keep at it, so that's what I'm looking forward to as the future.
Absolutely. Okay, Bob.